This is another episode of The Curious Impact, and we talk to leaders, innovators, and everyday change makers in the world. Today is no exception. We are going to be chatting to a very powerful woman, in my opinion. This chair right here is going to be taken over by someone who believes beautiful things must change, women must be on top of things, and we should start smashing the patriarchy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Curious Impact with myself, Nhlanhla Sechele. Here, where we talk about stories that are making waves, where we talk about curiosity and change, because that's what we're passionate about. We dive into stories of innovators, leaders, everyday change makers who are making strides in the world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that button so that we get curious together. Talking about curiosity, this afternoon we've got a very, very interesting guest here on The Curious Impact. A woman who is a mother, a grandmother, a wife, and an author who went bold and decided to be an amazing author that changes women's lives. She wrote the book with the title called Smashing Patriarchy. We've got Lethabo Maleka here with us this afternoon. Welcome to The Curious Impact.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for affording us the time to share your story with us. Lethabo, let us into your world and tell us what inspired the title Smashing Patriarchy.
Initially, when I started writing this book, was inspired by witnessing women dying every day and just realizing how spiraling gender-based violence is. I happen to be drawn into the killing of women, starting with femicide. It could begin rape and murder generally. Looking at gender-based violence, not just on one aspect, but for me, it was the question of having to concretize everything and put it together so that as women we must understand that gender-based violence is not only about femicide, rape and killings, it's about how it came about.
Let's talk a bit about your personal journey. Take us through your childhood, where you grew up, how you grew up, and what was the surrounding like. Lethabo tswaletswe ko kae, and up until we here.
I was born and bred in one of the rural villages in Limpopo. There, I did all my schoolings there, actually up to Form 3, what we used to call Form 3.
Which is grade 10.
Which is grade 10 now. Like every rural child, growing up there was just like a normal life. I went to collect wood from the mountains, and I drew water from the rivers like any other child.
Siblings? Do you have siblings? How many siblings?
Yes, I was born in Gwangwa family. My mother was a Northern Sotho speaking person, a Pedi person from Skukuneland. She was born by the Matlases. And my father is an Indebele, born by the Gwangwas. My mother was a housewife, and my father was a migrant labor in Johannesburg. So, after I completed my Form 3, which I understand is grade 5.
Grade 10.
Grade 10. Grade 10. Because I'm coming from a very big family, we are actually 3 at home. I have 3 sisters. My youngest passed on, but my mother, my father, my parents fostered 4 children. That those were my aunt children who died very early, and she was not married. So my parents fostered them and brought them up. So we're a family of 7, all in all. There was just no way that I could further my studies and go to metric level of education.
You mean grade 10?
Grade 10, yes. I decided to go and do nursing after I completed my grade 11, grade 10, these great things are so
You can
difficult
say
for
from
me.
grade 5.
So,
We understand.
so that my father can actually be able to take care of my other siblings and my cousins, and so that I can also assist him in bringing up other children. My elder sister was already working in Johannesburg, staying with my father as well. So I went for nursing in Venda, but unfortunately, towards the end of the year of my first year of training, I realized that I was pregnant. So then those times when you get pregnant as a student trainee or a qualified nurse, you were not allowed to
work.
work there, or you were disqualified altogether. You were actually chased from the profession. I remember when my matron realized that I was pregnant, he called me to say that you'll have to leave because we can't. The law then, health policy was to say that you can't train when you had a child out of wedlock.
Oh, so you're not married then?
I was not married. I was only 19 then. I was a teenager. I was quite young, and my boyfriend was also at school at training college. So there was no way that we could get married, and everything was so difficult. Then it was a taboo to have a child. Then out of wedlock. It was really unheard of. It was a very difficult time for me. So I had to go back home and never come back to the hospital, to the nursing profession. So after my father was very angry with me. So after I gave birth, my father just said, no, you'll have to go and look for work because you know our circumstances.
You're a parent now.
And for that matter, you are the only child, you are the child, one of my children that I trusted. And I knew that you were one of the brilliant children of this house. And I really, really trusted that you will make it in life. Therefore, I think it was my punishment that I have to come and look for work in Johannesburg. Then I came to Johannesburg for the first time, or in fact for the second time, other than when I was coming to the school holidays to visit Johannesburg. Already, when I came here, she was looking for a job for me. She found a job as a domestic worker in one of the suburbs, Greenside. She was working as a chauffeur in Horton to one of the most richest people in South Africa. She was a chauffeur, but treated as a domestic worker as well. So I just said, no, Papa, I'll do the best I can do. I remember when she came home for the first time and found me with a baby in my hands, she cried. And we cried together. And she never forgave me. Then when I came to Johannesburg, I wanted to do the best I can do. And I said, I'll work and try to bring up my child now, and I'll assist you in whichever way. And remember, I was earning very little, less than 100 rand. I was earning 75 rands. So, but it was a lot of money. I worked. And fortunately, when I got that job, it was regarding the domestic work, but because of my little nursing experience, they decided that that family decided that I look after their mother who had a stroke. She already had a day nurse. So they wanted me to work in the night so that I can take care of her in the night. But I still wanted to further my studies. I just said I'll work myself up until I qualify to get, for matric at least. When I started, I was doing history, English and Afrikaans for senior certificate. One day when I came to, in my history textbook, I came to study about World War II, about Hitler and the likes. And the other day, that was the first time that I knew Hitler was such a cruel man. And I happened to learn that he killed many Jewish through Holocaust. Then I forgot that that family was a Jewish family. Or I couldn't just bring I couldn't link the two. Then we had an argument with the very same lady that I was looking after. And I said to her, you are as cruel as Hitler.
Oh, that's what you said to the lady.
That's what I said to the lady.
That's what got you into hot water.
Yes, and when the son came to visit her in the afternoon, he told her that, do you know what she said? She told the son that he said she is as cruel as Hitler, the son of a very cruel person, was so furious that she said to me in the evening when I had to start my shift, she called me and said, "You are fired. I shouldn't have said that." And that's when it registered in my mind that, oh, these people, by the way, they are Jewish people. And I called my father and I told him that, no, I'm fired here. Fortunately, my father had a second-hand car and she just came in and fetched me. Then I went to stay with him.
So you didn't apologize to actually keep your job. You just took it as it is
I
and
know.
you moved on.
It was like a
Non-negotiable.
non-negotiable.
Okay.
Yes, he was a very, very horrible man, because even when we were waking, he would tell us never to look at him in the eye, and he was really, really, he was just a racist. So I went to stay with my father. She was working in Horton, Upper Horton, what is called Upper Horton. Then when I was there, no, my father was not angry with me. I told him what happened. She just said, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that. So what are we going to do?" I said, "No, I'll find something else. Don't worry, I'll find something else." Then I went, while staying with my father in a 2-point by 2-point square meter room, 7 squatters. It was me and my sister and him, and she was sleeping on the floor, and he had a bed, a self-made bed that was supported by the tins, these big tins, gem tins, that she supported that bed, and that bed was it formed a form of a storage underneath for other things. So I stayed with my father, but the difficulty is that I still wanted to continue with my studies. And I will make sure that when in the evening, in the night, when they go to sleep, I'll go and I'll go in to study in his employer's garage. Then I'll sit between the cars, put a card box there, and sit there and study, because I couldn't study in that room. It was so small, and besides, there was nothing dividing us in the rooms that were dividing them from where I could study. So that it went on like that. and I couldn't switch on the light when they were asleep. That the garage was the only place for me to study. I requested permission from somebody who was guarding the house that could I use the garage. He said, no, it's fine, you can use the garage. Then I'll study until midnight. So the other day, my friend, my sister's friend came to visit her. She was working at St. John's College. And she came to say, where I'm working, there's a big library. Why don't you come and ask the librarian, the lady who's working there, to give you to give you a room where you can at least study during the day. She said, come and talk to her. She's a very nice woman. I went the following day. Then I went straight into the library. I went straight into her office and I introduced myself and I told her what is that I was doing. He was so excited. He was so excited. He was really thrilled. And I was taken aback that, this woman is a white woman, but she's so fascinated by this black girl who wants to further studies. And she said, I'll assist you. Then she took me upstairs. There was a small room upstairs above the lecture,
the library hall.
Library. Then he said, you will sit here and study every day. You can bring your books and study every day. Then that's when I started going to St. John's College. Then she even went and talked to the teachers there. She introduced me to the teachers and said, then I couldn't construct sentences in English. No, because where I came from, we were doing English in Northern Lesotho, so I couldn't construct, our talking was so difficult. Our, conversation was so difficult. But he said, no, they will just understand what you are trying to say. Then he called teachers, the English teacher and a biology teacher, to come and help me with my studies. They were so enthusiastic. They started helping me with my prescribed books. The other biology teacher also came and assisted me with biology lessons. And they took me through their metric syllabus. Then the other day she called me. She said, don't you want a part-time job? I said, I do. He said, no, I want you to come and assist me in the library so that you can, your responsibility will be to pack the books after the children finish studying. In the afternoon, you will assist me in arranging them, putting labels on them, and she just taught me everything that is to do with librarian. So I was so amazed, but yeah, the salary was still very little. It was 95 rands, but it was
20
a
rands
lot.
increase.
Yes, my father was so happy. Then it went on like that. I studied at St. John's College. Then I wanted to write exam, and I was told that as a black child, the only place where I can write exam was in Alexander. You must find a exam center there. Then I asked the people, where is the exam center in Alexander? I went to Alexander and found those exam centers. Then I registered for my exam. The reason why I was saying the other day that I did my matric for 10 years is because just when I was about to complete my senior certificate, because I was attending classes during the day while I was still working at Greenside. I would attend classes during the day. There were classes that were arranged by Wits University for alternative education. Then it was just after 1976 riots. There were no schools everywhere. So Wits with other parents in the township decided to arrange that they have to have classes. What we call it, lecture rooms where they can accommodate black children to come and study. And we were taught by students, white students. Every day we went there. I got into student politics at Wits. Then they started opening my mind to say that, this education that I'm doing is Bantu education and it's inferior Then I said, no, no more. I'm not doing Bantu education. I dropped my senior certificate.
And at what point were you at? Because
No,
now,
I
were
was
you about
only-
to write your exams, or were
No,
you
I
still in the
already-
process of?
Yes, I already wrote 4 lessons, four papers, and I passed all of them. I was only left with about 6, 2 or 3 to qualify for a certificate. Because I was writing 2, 3 every year. You couldn't take all 6 of them at
Okay,
a
at
go.
the same time. Okay,
Yes, so I
okay.
was taking 2, I was taking 3, I was just like that. Remember, I was self-taught, English self-taught. Even though those people at St. John's, ultimately when I went to St. John's, helped me, but I was just struggling. But eventually I happened to get a better symbol, which is E. Somebody told me about Tarot College. I went and I said, they told me that, I told them that I've got a number of subjects, but those are the senior certificate subjects. They said, no, here we are doing joint matriculation board. They said I have to start from scratch. 4 years, already I studied senior certificate for 4 years. Then I had to do a matric from scratch. But it was better because already I had an idea of what the syllabus is and what is that I have to study, though joint matriculation board was, the standard was a little bit higher. Then after I completed my joint matriculation board exams, I think I had 7 subjects then. I decided that I'm not stopping here. But how do I get money to go to university? What is that I am going to do? Then I had I had a friend of mine, that is the only best friend I've ever had. And to think that I really hated white people then because of them.
How you were taught.
How yes. And I mean, I was one of the people who grew up under apartheid. We understood how we were treated. So I had an understanding of how black people are treated and apartheid and all the likes. So I was somehow clued up. Then Caroline, who was my friend, I met Caroline one time when they were doing a community project in Limpopo. Then I happened to go to a wedding in one of the villages, the other side called Lethabo. Then when I was there, that's when I met them. They came with my friend was getting married, and the uncle came, and that uncle of hers was doing a postgrad advance with the very same Caroline and them. Then they introduced me to them. Caroline then told me that we've got a community project that we are doing there. Don't you want to come every Saturday? We go on weekends. Don't you want to come with us every weekend so that you can actually assist us? At the same time, you'll help us with translations because we're working with ordinary people there who do not know English. So I said, no, I'd like to come. That was voluntary. Then every weekend I told my father was saying, no, it's okay, you can go. Then every weekend, every Friday, we'll go to Limpopo. Stay there. They started staying in my parents' house. Then they were building a clinic in that village. We stayed in that clinic. It didn't have roof or anything, but we just stayed, all of us. I remember they bought me a sleeper.
Sleeping bag.
Then we were sleeping in those sleeping bag with them. We were all together in there. We were students, about 8 students there, both boys and girls. We were just sleeping together there, and we were not bathing until we come back home.
Sure.
From Friday to Monday, where will you bath? Where will you get
Around
water?
the neighborhood.
Yes.
You don't ask neighbors.
No,
Neighbors, please give us some water.
Community is impoverished there.
Sure.
You won't even try. You won't even. You remember, they might not even have a soap.
So the surroundings, basically, there was no water. So
There
you
was
couldn't
water,
access water.
that they fetched from rivers and everywhere. but to ask them to accommodate you, I think those students didn't even want to involve them. So I became handy to them because I'll translate every time we have meetings. We call them to the meeting so that they understand why is that they are doing, why are they there, and how they can come in as community, because that clinic was meant for them. And we're doing even gardening project and things like that. So I went to, but as I was still studying for my matric then. Then I went to Limpopo every weekend, coming back every weekend, coming back until she told me about a friend of hers that was doing research. Then I said, no, I'll take the job because at least they paid me much, much, much better.
What was the
I
adjustment
was
now?
amazed that after 2 weeks of doing the job, she paid me something like 550. It was, phew, how does this
From
something like
95.
this happen? So that's how, but then I said, yo, this money, I'm going to use it to
Further your studies.
further my studies. But unfortunately, my friend and her boyfriend, after, that project was just, then the clinic was complete. We even built a tank, water tank, so that when it rains, at least it will pour money into the tank. A concrete water tank is so big, so beautiful. And the clinic was beautiful. It was about to be functional. The Leboa government, then it was Leboa government, came and chased us away.
Okay.
It was
What
from
was
the
reason for
health
it?
department. The reason was just saying, we don't need you here anymore. And then I remember when they came there with their black Mercedes Benzes, they just came in numbers and they just came to say, you must pack and go. We don't need you anymore. Yeah.
What year was this?
Yeah, it was in 1980, around 80, 81 there. Then we had to pack and go, and never to go back, and left that clinic as it is. So till today, I never knew
If
whether
it was
they managed.
functional or not.
I think they continued with renovating it and finishing it, so that at the end of the day should be seen as their
Project. So it was
as their
started by
project.
somebody else, but it was
Yes.
now completed.
Instead of just allowing us to finish and do everything, because already we started to finish it with scales for children and all that. I remember one time when I was there, they were testing their scales, whether it was working with my daughter. She was already about 3 years.
Also, your first child was a daughter.
Yes, I would go and I've got that was the only child I ever had.
That was it?
Yes, that was it. This
Sure.
children's mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you
so
scared to try again, or you
it
just
was-
wanted to focus?
No, it just happened. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We tried,
Okay.
but that's just happened.
Okay.
This God's ways. So I remember they were testing their scale with my daughter. That she cried so much, she was scared. I will go home when I go to the project. My friend will go and fetch her. Then so that I spent more time with her. Then on Sunday we take her back home, just like that. So then we had to pack and go.
After
building it
giving
up
it
to the
life,
roof,
all the way
yes.
up to the roof.
All the way up to the roof, and even finishing it halfway. We had to leave it. Even the community never knew why we left, because we couldn't say bye-bye to them. So when I was told that, no, but we'll continue with the project in other villages, neighboring villages, then something came into my mind. I remember that at home we have a village, a clinic, but that clinic was serving other surrounding villages. And those villages were far. And I remember my aunt, who had TB, had to travel from a far village to the village where where my homestead was, so that he can get TB treatment. So I said to them, how about I recommend the places where you can go and build other clinics to help those people, to relieve them from traveling so much distances with a transport, by the way they were walking, they were not taxis by then. Then I said, I've got a village in the neighborhood. The place is called Christina. And there's another village where my aunt was staying. The place was called Bersach. It's because those people couldn't pronounce that Dutch surname, Bersach.
Okay.
Yes, so they just call it Bersach. So they said, yes, you really saved us so much, because then we have to think where we start. We'll just recommend to SAFs. SAFs is South African Voluntary Services. That was the project. That will continue with 2 clinics in this area.
So after that, you still went on and built 2 more clinics.
Yes,
Did you build them all the way up to the roof?
finished. They're functional.
And you saw them functioning after that
Yeah,
one, where you couldn't see through.
yes.
So talking about how the government then and the current government now, which you obviously worked under, take us through your journey and experience with the government that you worked for.
Building those clinics, it was still under the apartheid system. Remember, apartheid system never wanted to cater for black communities. So the clinics that were built there, they were, most of them built by the communities.
So the clinics that we had then
Yes.
were clinics that were built by the community members
So are
in
the
that
schools.
community,
Yes.
as well as the schools.
The schools,
So
yes.
what was the government's role at the time?
With the coming of Bantustans,
That's a whole lot of history to
yes,
gather. But it's
Leboa.
fine, let's continue.
Yeah, it's coming to the Leboa government, KwaZulu, Xwagxwa government, like that. Remember the puppet government, they used to call them.
The
They
puppet
tried,
government.
yeah, they tried to improve the lives of black people there by cleaning, by building other structures such as clinics, hospitals, and the like, but they just continued in the same manner in which apartheid. Remember the way the puppet of apartheid, so they had to do as they are told. Even the funding, the budget has to come from that government. So whatever they've done, they'll only do so much. Because they were instructed to do so much. Even though they said they're independent, they had budget, but we knew that they had to do as the masters wanted them to do. So they would build 1 clinic there. In fact, I think they concentrated on building smaller hospitals around the area, not clinics that will serve the people in the communities. If it's a hospital, the nearest hospital was about, I'm not good with kilometers, but it was about 1.5 hours from my village to that hospital. So people needed clinics around so that they can only go to hospitals if clinics cannot help them. Yes.
Perfect.
Myself. Little did I know that me involved in community work in the rural area will help me get a scholarship. That's why I happened to get a full scholarship for 4 years through British Council. And I studied the following year. I went and studied for A-level university entrance, and that will qualify me to go to university. Then it was only black children, because that project was meant for black children who couldn't go to university. I'm in Kenya College for a year. I did sociology and history. Then it qualified me to go to vets. to do my first degree. That scholarship was meant to fund us for 4 years. So I did 3-year junior degree and 1-year honors through the scholarship advance. Then, after I graduated, I did it record time. After I graduated, then the very same institution that was managing the British scholarship in South Africa. It was called Educational Opportunities Council, EOC. I think we are too young to know EOC. Yeah, but it was funding black children all over, all the universities, and actually tertiary institutions. So they gave me a job the following year. They advertised a job for student counselor. Then I applied. They gave me the job. So
you were juggling being a mother,
yes,
being a wife, and being a student.
Remember,
all
my
at
daughter
once.
was already now over 8 years, 10 years there. So when I got married, it was 7 years. And my boyfriend, then now my husband, was a teacher at Pefeni High School. But I continued with my studies. I was so lucky that he just said, no, you continue with the studies, don't stop. That's what you wanted. It is good that you want to further your studies. And you are talented, you are gifted. Why should I stop you? Then I left him with my daughter, a preteen then. I left them. I went to stay at Vest for 4 years at boarding. I was staying there at one of the arrests.
The residency. And then, so in between, when did you see them?
Only weekends.
Oh, okay.
I'll go
so
home.
Monday to Friday you were
Yes.
a student, and then you become a wife over the weekend.
Over the weekend.
Okay.
And I'll go back to school on Monday. But with me, I'm a very determined person. When I set my mind in doing something, I just want to do it. But with the support that I got, it made me, it made my load very, very easy. So I just felt guilty that I had to leave them, especially my husband with the daughter. But they managed. They really managed. And the risk was to say, people will talk,
yes.
will be saying, yeah, what
Are
then?
you not scared?
Yeah,
that
are you not scared that
there will be other women coming in to raise your child and take your place?
He might even rape your daughter. His daughter, I mean, these things were happening long time ago. It's only now that they are coming out, and because of the democracy.
You've got the platform now.
Yes, now
You've got
the
different
platform.
platforms to actually
yes. So,
narrate
but
the stories.
it could have happened. Yeah? But I said to them, you know what? He can have a girlfriend even when I'm here. Just under my nose. And I'm not going to hold my life because of I am insecure. I don't need that in my life. If he does, he's an adult, and obviously he will
It's
be
his choice.
And his choice, then I know what to do. And obviously he will be consenting with another adult. So
It's got nothing to do with you.
with me. And if he rapes this child, it's his. Yeah, it's his child.
So now you sound like someone who had a very supportive partner, a very supportive father.
Yes.
So your journey as far as the male side of your life, the males that you had in your life supported you as a child, even though your dad was very angry when you had a child. But when you started showing him that you were determined to rectify your mistakes by looking for a job and actually studying in the process, you met, you and your then boyfriend then become married, and he still becomes that supportive partner. So people are questioning and wondering, then why would this woman write such a book called Smashing Patriarchy? Because it doesn't sound like a trauma experience that you had or anything untoward that happened to you when you were a child.
No.
So how do you then tackle this book, and why did you write it?
That's
What makes you say that?
So, because I remember, I always questioned the fact that the village that I'm in is 30 minutes from what we call Petersburg, now Limpopo.
Oh, yes.
I mean, Polokwane.
Polokwane, yes.
Standing at my parents' homestead, standing at the pit toilet at the corner, I would see those lights in Petersburg. And I always wondered, why do they have lights and we don't have lights? Why are we always in the darkness? When I go to Petersburg, I'll come back and say, oh, Mama, the town is so clean. Everything is so clean. I can see that they have water. They're watering their gardens. But here, we have to go and fetch water and share that water with animals.
Because
You
they
know?
were not used to
Because he
asking
was
questions.
afraid. He was afraid of me being conscientized because his cousin was part of the people who skipped the country. He was a member of PEC, and he went, he left the country. And that thing hurt the whole family. Nobody spoke about it, even her, she wouldn't speak about it.
So did the cousin ever come back, or did they
No,
die
he
in
came
exile?
back long after. No, he came back, and then when she came back, she came and visited my mother. They were very close. My mother wouldn't want me to talk to her,
'Cause she
to
would
be
influence
with.
you.
Yes, and then my mother knew that I was politically conscious,
Already.
and then I wanted to leave the country. I
You wanted to join her.
No, I didn't even know where she was. My boyfriend, that's my husband now, we were planning to skip the country
together.
together. And then it was me who was pressurizing him that we have to leave, we have to leave. That was then in the 80s. I was so determined to leave this country that I looked everywhere for someone who can help me leave the
Skip
country.
the country.
Skip the country. But he betrayed me along the line. When we were about to leave, we were just looking for somebody to help us. She just said, I'm not going anywhere.
In this process, where's your daughter?
My daughter is with my parents.
So you were
Yeah.
planning to skip the country without?
Actually, my friend promised me that she will take my daughter. When they left South Africa, they went to Zimbabwe. Then they stayed in Zimbabwe. Then she wrote to me to say that, can you bring your daughter to Zimbabwe? Then I was determined to take my daughter to Zimbabwe for education. Always said that they've got a good education. Then I wanted to take my daughter to Zimbabwe, but my mother said no. My parents said, no, you don't take the child to Zimbabwe. And then I was defeated. Then when I wanted to leave, she said to me, no, you can come to Zimbabwe yourself. You can skip the country and come to Zimbabwe. I said, how? I don't have passport. She said, no, I'll arrange with my friend who is delivering petrol. You know, these people who are
trucks, the
truckers.
logistics people,
Yes.
yes.
She was a trucker delivering petrol in Zimbabwe. She said, no, she can smuggle you in a truck and bring you to Zimbabwe.
And this is you and your husband.
No, now
It's just you.
No, it was just me because I realized that she didn't actually wanted to come along.
So your husband didn't want to go.
No, she was determined to come with me. All of a sudden, she was just saying, Ahman, I don't want to go. Now I worked for a couple of years. Why can't we just get married? I said, no, let's go and we'll get married there. I didn't know the conditions there. I just said I didn't know that I was going to stay in the camps. And the likelihood to go, when we get there, we might not even
Come back
or be together. So I'm sure somebody must have told her, because she was coming from a political background where, the Sekhukhune people were very, very, very much against apartheid.
You are in the working space now. You obviously experience a different culture to everything else that you were drawn to, because you were doing community work, you were studying, you were a wife, you were being a mother, and ultimately you walk into a different building that you face different individuals from different backgrounds. What was that experience like for you?
Well, like I said, after 1994, when all donors decided to
Pull back
pull
their
back their
funding.
funding, applied for a job in Gauteng provincial government.
This is post 1994.
Yes, that
Right.
was 1996.
Okay.
Yes. Then I started working, my first job in public service was with the Department of Local Government. Then the MEC was still Sechele.
Oh, okay. And who
Yes.
was the premier at the time?
Premier was Tokyo Swale.
All right.
Then I worked there for 1 year as a researcher
In that office.
in that office.
Right. What was the structure like in the office that you were working in?
The structure was that of MEC as the head,
Okay.
then the HOD.
Right.
HOD will have chief directorates, then deputy directorates, deputy directorates, and assistant directorates.
So the structure has really not changed from 1994, where there was the MEC, then
Yes.
the MEC's office,
Yes.
and then the HOD
Yes.
overlooks the department,
Yes.
and then they've got their own people. So so the MEC's office has always been the political office.
Oh, political office.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All
That
right.
was the structure.
So even now, so the structure
Even
hasn't
now,
changed.
nothing has changed. Yeah.
Except the inclusion of councillors.
Yes, the inclusion of councillors. Yes.
And now in the political space that you are occupying, this is now your work, you're a councillor, and what is the cultural, the patriarchy, and the system in that workforce?
Patriarchy is a very, actually I always compare apartheid and patriarchy to say that
Suppressed.
they are both anchored on power. Therefore, in those structures then you will find men in the senior positions and women will be there at the lower ranks most of the time. But remember, the new government wanted to come up with
Gender equality.
gender equality, but the implementation was just another story. Because when you come up with something like that, so something transformation like that, you have to monitor it to see that it is implemented. Eventually, you'll find that it's not implemented, and men just happen to be on the leading position. So as people, we don't really question those things. We really question those things as to why, as women, we are always at the lower level. We tend to go along with everything that is happening around us. But with me, I'm just one person who was always very conscious, just to understand why this is happening this way, not that way. But there's very little we can do in that situation because you don't even have the power to do anything unless you don't.
As you are there, what did you notice about women being suppressed, women not getting the recognition they deserve in that workspace?
One thing that always disturbed me is the fact that women, they were always sidelined. Even if a woman is promoted to a higher position, there will be the suspicions, those kind of suspicions. How did he get there?
So
And
she cannot naturally progress.
no, it was not on merit. It was because he was involved with this person
What do you mean involved?
romantically. It was because he's promoted he's promoted on the basis that
There was sexual favors exchanged.
exchanged, and that happened so many times, and it even became a norm.
Did you witness any of this?
Yes, I witnessed a number of them, and that situation once got me into hot waters. There was one point when I was now in Premier's office, left Department of Development Planning, worked under Swale, but then under Swale, he left just before, he left halfway of my employment there. That was 1999, and then came Mutshekga.
Mathole.
Mathole Mutshekga. During Mathole Mutshekga, we just turned a blind eye even when we saw all these things happening and how people were promoted. But it was only during Mbazima Shilowa's tenure that I blew the whistle.
And it was only until the era of Mbazima Shilowa where you said you can't take this thing anymore, and you became a whistleblower.
It was one fateful day when I was assistant secretariat to EXCO, working under DG. My responsibility was to record the EXCO proceedings, minutes, agendas, and everything else. So I was the link between the line departments and the Premier's office, whereby the memo had to come through me.
Okay.
Then that day, there was this very, very urgent memo. I wanted it signed before ESCO the following day. The DG in the office. I saw him in the office. Then I go and looked for him to say, could you please sign? Because the memo couldn't go out without his signature.
The signature.
He was nowhere to be found. The lady who was assisting in her office said, but he was just here. He might have gone to the toilet. We waited. He was not there. Then I said, we have to look for him. I can't, by the afternoon I must have this memo because it has to go with the packs. MEC packs. We looked everywhere. I heard him talking, passing the reception, but I couldn't see where he went. I thought he went through into the lift. But she said, no, it couldn't be. We could have seen the lift opening and him getting into the lift. I said, let's look for him. Then then that lady said, no, but he ended up in this office. I said, can we open it? Let's open this office. Then when we opened the office, there he was with another lady.
Sure. So you
In a
witnessed
very, very compromising
position.
Oh, I saw red, black, and everything else. I was so angry and frustrated because I was shouting, calling his name, and meanwhile he was just the office next door to the reception. And I said, that's it. This is it. I said, when I opened the door, she couldn't, no remorse, nothing. I said, but I want you to sign this memo before it went out. Then she just said, okay, bring it. And she signed it.
In that position? He said,
Yeah,
bring it
yes.
in this office that
No,
he was busy
left,
in?
he went to his office.
Okay. All right.
Then I said, so many things have been happening. And we kept quiet. The worst thing is that the woman that I found with him, she was promoted to a director position, of which I applied for that position. And I knew that I was qualified for that position because the position was even in my section. The other day when I was passing the reception, he made an utterance. He said, oh, some of us, we know where to press the button.
That's the lady.
Yes, they are people. Some people are wasting time by applying this post
Because they already know
you
who
already
has
know
the
that it's
position.
hers. And to find him in that position with her, I said no.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. Already we had issues, and the people who were reporting to my land staff members, they were always saying, you know what, we have to write a memo to Premier and report this man. But somehow, I just said, we have to have evidence.
You can't just write.
Yes,
without
you
the
can't
proof.
just write a memo and complain about the treatment here without evidence. But that day, I said, yeah, he gave it to me on a silver platter. I said to them, let's,
So when you've got the evidence, you mean like you had other witnesses, so you were not the only
yes,
person
the
that
lady,
actually witnessed
yes,
that.
yes.
So
That
somebody could collaborate your story.
Yes, that lady became my witness. Then I called my staff. I said, this is the time that we have to write a memo. But we have to tabulate all the things
That have been happening.
that have been happening
Leading to that incident.
and leading to this incident. Let's write to the Premier. But before we decided to write the memo, I wanted to tell the Premier that I'm going to write a memo but I left messages on his phone. She never responded or called me back until I just decided that let's write the memo. Then we wrote the memo. And then these two officials were so close to me very close to me because they were my backup. And I said, in the memo, we put our names down. We did, we wrote the memo, we finished. And the day that I decided that I'm going to give the memo to the Premier, the document leaked. When it leaked the following day, I went to Exco.
Sure.
And the DG came and he pointed me like this on my shoulder and said,
Sure.
what are you trying to do? And we are not going to record the proceedings today. I want you out of this place. I said, no ways. I'm going to record the proceedings. I'm going to sit there and record the proceedings. It's only me and him and the rest, and these two people that knew about the memo, and the other lady. The mood was so tense, I thought I was going to be killed that day. Then I sat down, I recorded the proceedings, I finished. Then in the afternoon, he called me into his office.
Yeah.
Then he called his Premier's political advisor, which was Amos Masondo, and Lethabo Maleka, who was in communication. Then we sat there and he called the three of us. Then we sat there. And she said, you withdraw this document. He had it in it now, print form. You withdraw this document. And I said, what are you trying to do? Do you know whom am I? I said, I'm not withdrawing it. Never. I could see him shrinking this. Everyone was so scared. I said, I am not going to withdraw this memo. It's going where it's supposed to go. And you're telling me about the memo that I didn't hand over to the Premier. You tell me about the leaked document. Well, by the time it was leaked, I decided to put just my name there until we all finish and sign it. But I wanted to put my name here. There. Then it was leaked. I said, I am not. She said, you don't know who am I? I said, I don't even care to know who you are. The reality is that I'm going forward with this. I remember somebody telling me that when after that meeting, Thabo Masebe said, Lethabo, please just withdraw this and let's forget about this. I said, no, I will be doing my country's in favor. I really be letting my people down. I cannot do that. Then the meeting was, she dismissed all of us. We went. Thabo, somebody was telling me that after that meeting, he saw Masonto trying to go into the, went to the office, took whatever it was his. He left, but because of the frustration, he banged against the lift door. She couldn't even see that the lift was not even open. But I could see him, he was shaking, frightened. Then the following day, I just went to office and did whatever I'm supposed to do. And one of my colleagues from another directory said, you know what, they are coming after you. I told, already the memo was known everywhere.
But it still has not reached the Premier's office.
He said, no, please make sure that that memo reaches the Premier with your signatures and everyone. Then while I was sitting there, she was just saying, did you send the memo? Phoned me. I said, no, yes, I did send the memo. And then she was saying, I'm told that they are on the way from HR labor people. I said, no, they can come. And they came. They said to me, get out of the office. Like a criminal. Get out of the office, leave everything there, and get out. And never put your foot here.
And who's telling you to do that?
Labor. People at labor. There was a guy with the name Mhlaibane, and the other one was Olofse. Olofse was the director in labor section of Premier's office. Then I took everything, but I took the laptop.
Because I wanted to ask if the laptop was
part
of it.
Yes, I took the laptop with me, and they couldn't even, they didn't
Stop
even
you.
stop
They
me
couldn't
from taking
hold
the
you.
laptop, but they said I must leave everything. I left for home. I called my husband, and he said, no, I'll come and fetch you. He fetched me. We went home. That was the beginning of my suspension. The letter...
And the reasons for the suspension?
I brought the office into this report.
Okay.
By saying the things that I said about the DJ. Now DJ is not investigated. It is me who was investigated.
The whistleblower.
The whistleblower. Or my life has to
change, and now
change.
security-wise,
Everything. I can tell you, my life was upside down. I came home, and they said, no, the letter. Then the following day they said I must come. First the letter, suspension letter. I went. They were just ridiculing me and everything else. I went. I faced the letter. The DDG then was Sean, the one who's the chairperson to Maharaj, not Maharaj, Sean Bolton. You know Sean Bolton. She was the DDG, and she was tasked with, she was given the task of making sure that I'm dismissed. Dismissed. Oh. Then I went to fetch the letter, I came back home. I decided that no, I must do something. This is a fight. It's a war, in fact. I must fight it and win it. Then I wrote to the public protector. Then it was still Sylvie Patko. I wrote to him, I told him that is my situation and blah, blah, blah. Selby, they didn't respond. I was frustrated. When they responded, they told me, well, they just acknowledged the letter, and then my suspension was official for 1 year. I was here.
So you were suspended for a year,
Yeah.
with or without pay?
With pay, because public service is very, 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 very complex.
Okay.
To dismiss somebody like that, you really have to have the reasons to do that.
Okay.
So I was covered by public service. They couldn't just dismiss me until They have investigated the matter and found me guilty. They tried to track it down. I went for hearings after hearing, hearing after hearing. Well, until they couldn't fire me because public protector intervened. I said, he said, you don't fire that person. I declare that woman a whistleblower. And you know what the rules are, the policies are about whistleblowing.
So in the midst of now you going through the courts, fighting to keep your job, fighting for your right and your voice to be heard, fighting for women's rights in the workspace, but equally so fighting for those that will never be heard, because there are
Yes.
many that went through the chain,
Exactly.
that went through that chain silently. And here you are trying to shift, trying to bring everything back to where it's supposed to be, single-handedly so, by the way.
Yes.
What is going through your mind? Are you contemplating writing a book in the midst of everything? Or are you just taken by the emotions and trying to figure out what is the next move?
No, you wouldn't even think of anything except fighting for your survival then. Because you have to fight for your survival. Writing the book, it never crossed my mind.
Your security was your biggest concern at that time.
Yes, because
So did you hire
I was getting
security?
death threats here at home. They'll call me, they'll send letters here at my gate. And the DG also was wrote a letter from the legal person to say that she was charging me for defamation of a character. And then she was
So
even
suing you for defamation of character.
yes, yeah, and she was claiming that I have to pay him 500,000. Where do I get 500,000? But it was just a whole lot of things. You know, I always say that even apartheid system wouldn't have treated me like that, the way they have treated me. So a year went by.
You're still at home,
I'm still at home.
still suspended.
Yes, the following year, I was called in to say that they are going to investigate the matter
After a year.
after a year.
So in the meantime, when you were going through the courts and everything, there was no investigation taking place?
There was somebody that they've hired from the Premier's office who was an investigator.
Okay.
Their investigator, he harassed me so much, that guy, I was frightened. So, but once a public protector intervened, there was nothing they could do. That's when they called me to say, come back to work. Then I went back to work. And then I was told that you'll never go to Premier's office. We are going to second you to another section. But they still intended to fire me, find a way of firing me. You know, when I went back, they said, we will deploy you to another but section. And that section was the section of the people that chucked me out of my office. Because that was to mean that I have to be intimidated,
And frustrated. So
and
that
then
you
they never
actually
gave me
leave.
any job to do. They dumped me in the basement
How?
of that building. I was sharing the space with rats
Alone.
alone in that building. It was so scary. I called it solidarity confinement. And I was there. I just said, they gave me an office. This is your office. They gave me a laptop without any task to do.
So they frustrated you out.
Yes, yes.
So
the
that you
idea
can
was to work
resign
out
on
me.
your own.
Yes. And I said, over my dead body, I am not going. You know, I'll go to work at 7, like I used to do, because in Premier's office I'll go at 7 o'clock so that I prepare before everything else. Then I went to work at 7. 4 o'clock, I'll go home. The same routine, because then my husband had to drive me on a daily basis because my life was just as I remember one time when I parked the car there, somebody just came and scratched it across
Your car.
my car, something like a nail. Then I just said, oh. And the other day, when I went at 7 o'clock, I heard someone running down the stairs. And I thought I heard somebody cocking the gun. And I just said, hi, who are you? Then she went. I ran to my office, locked myself there. Going to the toilet was a mission. Going to, bathroom was a mission. Going to the kitchen was a mission. Because I have to watch my back every time.
But why did you go back and not let go? Because your life is already in danger.
Yes.
What was that thing that kept you going there every day, even in those circumstances where you were frightened every day?
I was determined. My daughter once said, because they were phoning here at home, threatening me, and she will sometimes answer the phones. And the other day she just came crying and said, Mama, you really have to stop this. I said, no, my girl, once you start something like this, you don't pull back. You go forward. Because when you pull back, it will mean that you are defeated. And I cannot be defeated. And what? The truth is always the truth. And I told the truth. The reality is that I'll go forward and fight this one. I know I'm risking your life. I'm risking my life, but I've started. Then, while I was there, they insisted that I must go for disciplinary hearing. There, they were determined to
Get rid of you.
get rid of me. The very same morning, I received, because they gave me a fax machine, they gave me everything in that office. I saw a fax coming through. Then I stood up and pulled out the fax. The fax was from Public Protector. And she just said to them, you stop that disciplinary hearing. Now. Then already the presiding officers and everybody, labor people were there waiting for me. Then she just said, come with me. I went with him to that office, and then they were sitting there, and he gave them the letter. I could see the frustration. They didn't just know what to do, but they had to stop that proceedings. Then they said, then I went back to my office. They couldn't continue. I went back to my office. It just carried on like that, like defying even Public Protector in the name of wanting to protect the DG. Another year went by.
And this is your life now every day.
Yes.
You're still in the basement.
Yes.
You're still overlooking over your shoulder.
Yes.
You're still getting those threats.
Yes. And Public Service Commission intervened. She said, no, where is this person and what is happening to him, to her? Then they wrote a letter to them that you must assign duties to her and make sure that she's deployed to a place where she'll be able to function like a normal employee, because this person is getting paid. Then that's when they seconded me to another department, the IT department. It was part of Premier's office. Then when I got there, I met such a hostile. Everyone knew about me. Everyone hated me.
What's your story?
Even women hated me. So then I got there. They gave me a big office with everything beautiful there. I was told that it was Chief Director's office who resigned. It was a beautiful office. Unfortunately, everything you'll find it here. Fortunately, then I sat there. They don't give me anything to do. Again. And the Chief Director was just so hostile to me. Then I would sit there, and I decided that, and that was IT. I was supposed to head procurement and finance. And I said, no, I don't even have the skill for this job. Then somebody said, no, tell them to take you to training. They didn't have any problem. They were spending a lot of money. I went for procurement training, I've got a certificate. I went financial management, I have certificate. I went for diplomas, I have diplomas because they were 1-year courses. I went for human resource training to different institutions. I remember the 2 I got them from UNISA, and they didn't have a problem. They were just giving me money, bursaries, because in their mind, they don't care about me. And then I had all the time to study and everything because I didn't have anything to do.
And how long did you then stay in that setup again? Because now you're getting certificates, you're getting you're just keeping yourself busy.
For a year, until they established JCC. Then they took everybody they deployed everybody to GSSC because GSSC was supposed to accommodate all the departments that are dealing with procurement, IT, and whatever. So they moved everybody there, they left me alone.
In that big office?
In that big office, alone in that,
building.
Floor. At least it was just a floor. So I said, what am I going to do? I decided to write a letter to Premier's office, DG. That one, the DG that I exposed, they already moved him to correctional services. They don't fire him. They move him to correctional services.
They don't discipline him.
Yes.
They never disciplined him. And then what happened with the findings in between? Because now there was an investigator that was harassing you, and then there was another investigation that was taking place. Was he ever?
he cleared all.
He was cleared in all the charges.
The charges except investigation by public protector. He cleared me. He said, no, this person, whatever she said, is the truth. And then this person, he qualified to be, remember, you have to get that status of being a whistleblower. You don't just become a whistleblower, you must be declared a whistleblower. And he even sent them the bill that talks about whistleblowing, that protects whistleblower. He wrote that memo to them and gave them the memo. But they didn't just, they cared less. Because public protector wouldn't come back and see, monitor me. It was Public Services Commission that was supposed to do that. Until then, when they left. I mean, when they left me alone there in that building, I wrote to the DG, the new DG in Prima's office. I wrote to him, I told him that here am I. I'm left here. What is to happen now with me? Because then I'll have to inform Public Protector and Public Service Commission. Then that's when they decided to move me to another department, Department of Finance and Economic Affairs, under liquor section. Then I became a secretariat for liquor board. Then I was moved there. I worked there as secretary to the liquor board, until I retired. The harassment just continued. The more they distorted my story, is the more it just became the truth, and everybody is scared of me. Just to say, this is my autobiography. The stories that I told you about my life history is in this book up to the end, where I'm talking about whistleblowing. But when I was writing this book, I decided to write another book. Then I started to write them concurrently. While I was moved to another department where I was just idling. I was already in Prima's office, in Gauteng Liquor Board. But when they decided to move me from my function, for no apparent reason, I decided to write something. That's when I started with my autobiography.
So you expressed your emotions through
the
pen.
Yes, but the other one was about the tales of 4 presidents that I might release next year. So, but it was only in 2018 18 after I retired. And somehow I was just thrown up. I was just drawn to gender-based violence issues. I was so drawn up to the killing of women to a point that I couldn't leave any story in the newspaper without cutting it. So I had stacks and stacks of press cuttings about the killing of women, the rapes, and everything else. I just got drawn up to that. Then one time in 2018, I said, no, I'll shelve these two books and focus on this one,
Smashing the patriarchy.
Smashing the Patriarchy. But when I started, the intention was to write about gender-based violence.
What exactly about gender-based violence did you want to capture in the book?
I wanted to document the incidents. Actually, I was just saying maybe I can use my press cuttings to the benefit of people who suffered as a result of gender-based violence and document them. But I said it won't be enough just to document without saying anything.
That
It's
comes
like
from
having
you.
the background.
Because now you've got the
Yes.
press cuts,
Yes.
but your opinion and your feelings are
Yes.
not in the book.
In the book. So that's when I started to say, at the same time I said, but there's no point of me writing about gender-based violence. What is the source of gender-based violence? What is the root cause? Maybe I should start there so that whoever reads this book will understand that gender-based violence is as a consequence of patriarchy. The way men were raised. And I said, I do not want to say some men, because even the good men, they are doing nothing. So they are accomplices. What I can only do is to start writing about patriarchy. And fortunately, I did a bit of it while I was still doing sociology at university.
When you say all men,
Yes,
good, bad,
yes,
does that include your husband, your brothers, your friends?
yes. It includes all of them because they are doing nothing. They are just accomplices. They are as good as the bad men.
What is it that would have made them different?
What could have made them different is to make a noise in action.
Like what? Can you
Take
give us
action,
examples?
take action about the gender-based violence.
Give us a
and
typical
patriarchy.
example of a scenario
Okay.
and what the expectation of a good man would have been in that situation.
My point was to say that I can see that all the time when a woman is murdered or a woman is raped. The only people who will take to the street and campaign, protest, are women. And where are the men? And I said, I understand why men cannot help women, kill and bury patriarchy, in particular, because they benefit. So it is very, very difficult to say some men. For me, I can give an example of my husband. He's very supportive. Very, very supportive. Supported me to write this very controversial and painful book. All the way. It was not easy on him. Because whatever I do, it's only the two of us in the house. And whatever I do, I had to discuss with him. All the step of the way to a point that one day, she just said, but patriarchy, I feel exhausted. But I understood. I understood that it's very traumatic to be talking about these things, and he couldn't just get into my head. And you said, what are the typical example of a good man?
Or the actions that they should have taken. Now that they are all aware
Yes.
that there is this thing that's taking place, the patriarchy, the gender-based violence, what is the expectation? What is it that you would have expected, let's talk about your husband, to do so that he makes a difference or helps, eliminates the patriarchy or the gender-based violence?
My expectation is that because patriarchy, you know, socialized them to be powerful, dominant to women or over women, and everything that make them strong men. I said that maybe I should just say how I define patriarchy in a very simple way. I said patriarchy is a power system. It is the system that renders men superior and women inferior. It is a system that constructs men as emotionally strong. It's the system that constructs men as natural leaders, be in political arena, be in economic, and even spiritual. All men are seen as leaders, and women are constructed differently.
You're saying men will never ever help in eradicating patriarchy
Yes.
because that's what keeps them afloat, that's what keeps them in power, and it maintains the power that
Yes.
they understand themselves to have.
Yes.
Now we as women, we then become our own liberators in smashing the patriarchy.
After you read this book, your life will not be the same. You will be a different person altogether. You know, sometimes, more especially in our community, we are not learned. Nobody's telling us or giving us the correct information about life. We, as boys, we just know that it is supposed to be like that. But if you say, no, guys, it's not supposed to be like that. Suppose you have got a master's degree, you have married to a girl with a master's degree. You are working a very responsible jobs. And then maybe even you arrive at home before your wife, and then you expect your wife to come back at around 7 o'clock, cook, bath the children, and then even help the children with homeworks. Is it really what you expect? Really? No, guys, that's not true. Okay, we don't have skills in some of the things, but we can learn. You can learn, but things like frying liver. You can do that. It doesn't really need a rocket scientist
Or
to
going
know.
to a chef school
Or
to do
yes,
that.
no, yes. They don't know because this is a secret which you're not supposed to know. Even our fathers don't want you to be looking into the kitchen. What type of a boy is this one? Why are your eyes always in the kitchen? No, that is not your department. Do A, B, C, D. But if somebody can open his eyes, then that person will never be the same. That's why I'm saying that this is in fact not supposed to be targeting women, but it should be targeting men.
With the same smashing the patriarchy,
Yeah.
the same title.
Yeah. It's not. It's for men because you know. Here in this book they are talking about you. We are talking to guys. Why are you still here? Really? What are we doing about ourselves? You know what is happening. With Colin, when a girl goes around with a miniskirt, she's inviting men. No, why inviting men? She bought it because it's sold. It's in the shelves in the store for whoever likes it. And if you feel you are comfortable in the short skirts, why don't you wear it? Why don't you buy it? It suits you. It makes you feel comfortable. So the problem is men. They must learn now the truth and then how women feel. Now, this is very perfect. You read some of the stories, how some of the girls were murdered, and some of wives, and some, things like that. And then you ask yourself, maybe I am not normal. Yeah, I sometimes tell myself that, but why can't I do things these guys are doing? Is it because I'm what half a man, or I lack something? I mean, if you rape 9 women, what does it mean? Where were you thinking? What were you thinking? 9.
What were you hoping to achieve? What was the action and cause?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. With that said, I'd like us to close it.
Yeah.
And have you sold any of the books to the gents at the gym?
Uh, I because I know their attitude. But yesterday I met pensioners. We had lunch as pensioners somewhere in Stone what in Vanderbilt Park.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I sold 4 of this.
To the pensioners?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those I'm still preparing the soil.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want somebody to buy this book and then make it part of other books.
furniture or
No,
other
this one you must sleep with it every day here next to you. Yeah.
I started by saying that women over the years tried to get rid of patriarchy, flowing from feminism to gender justice activists. But the majority of women did not join the fight. That's why I'm calling them their own worst enemies. Women, the starting point for now, because I am saying this time women don't have much choice. GPV is forcing women to do something. It's forcing women to rise up. But women must understand that they will never be able to fight gender-based violence without dismantling patriarchy.
Rising Like a Dust and Smashing the Patriarchy. These are books that should be what we call the Bibles of the home, because in there, your son will be liberated, your daughter will be liberated, the entire household will have a different mindset in tackling issues holistically and not just in the household. It's been an absolutely great pleasure talking to Nhlanhla Maleka that gave us their home, welcomed us here, and opened themselves up to letting us know what is it that is going on in South Africa and giving us a history of what happened in the past. We got to know what whistleblowers are and where it all began with our very own. Thank you so much for joining us on The Curious Impact. This is how we wrap today's episode. Do like, subscribe, and keep on commenting relevantly on our content.